Hello and welcome. The day's finally here, the day I've been looking forward to for quite a while, since India Fox Techo released their version of the T.45C Goshawk. Just Flight have just dropped their Hawk T1. So we'll quickly have a look at the different liveries. So we've got obviously the red arrows, 2011, 2014, 21, different display liveries, and a custom 21. And we've got Indonesian, Swiss, Saudi, Finnish, Empire Test Pilot School, all the flying schools, 100 Squadron, 92 Squadron, 151 Squadron, and 4 Flying Training School livery. So pretty much quite a lot to choose from. And if we go into the weight and balances, we can obviously add different weights to different pylons to simulate different weapons, but more will come of that later. And there's a very easy way of putting things on pylons, brilliant way of which Just Flight have gone round about doing that. And so you can set your failures still, and obviously you've got your customization. But going with the 92 Squadron, I'm going to be flying from Coningsby, do a quick walk around, look around the cockpit. I won't be doing a startup tutorial, not yet, that'll come in another video, and then I'll do some flying characteristics, handling, ground handling and things like that, usual review stuff. So let's jump into the sim proper. Okay, so we'll start with the walk around, and just having a good look around the extras that have come as part of the flight model, with the RBF flags, engine blanks, chocks, access ladder, obviously got some more RBF flags there. Very nice. Paint scheme, top textures, and the modelling is superb. Sort of exactly the sort of high level that you would expect from a company like Just Flight. Yeah, I mean, it really does look nice, weathered as well, so it's not just a clean machine. Look round the back, you've got the engine blank at the back there. Now if we jump into the cockpit, it comes with a little kneeboard / tablet. Now, many things you can do on here. Obviously aircraft state, you can set it cold and dark as what it is now, ready for start, or even ready for takeoff. Then you've got, even though I don't think this aircraft originally has an autopilot, I could be wrong, I'm not sure if there was one implemented later on in the Mark with the T.Mk.1A. Certainly the T1, I don't think there was an autopilot, but that has now got an autopilot function. You can disable the rear pilot. You can change your configuration. So obviously we just have a blank there, but if we come down to here, click that, we now have a GPS. If we click it again, we now have a sight, and click it again, we now have a GPS and a sight. So yeah, and you can save the state of the aircraft, where you're controlling it from. You can have the rear and front control columns visible or not. You can undo the nose hatch and the canopy from here. You can refill your oxygen, and you can also remove the chocks, covers and steps from here. So no more key binding to get those bits and pieces on and off. So that's a nice little extra that they've added there, and yeah, I think that's fantastic. Now If we jump into the back cockpit, so from the back here we're in the instructor's seat, and we've got everything that is in the front apart from nav and radio equipment here, and the aircraft arming panel which is here. Other than that, everything else. And apart from the fuel cock here, so you can't really fly from the back. You wouldn't be able to start the engine from the back because you'd need access to that fuel cock, obviously. So yeah, everything's pretty much there. So we jump back into the front seat. Okay, now before we get this thing up in the air, I'm going to show you this tablet one more time, just to show you the extra functions. So oxygen at the moment is full, so we can't do that at the moment, but we can do the canopy, and what that'll do is that will close and lock the canopy for you instead of you just closing it and locking it yourself. And we can go from cold and dark to ready for start, so that'll bring all the electrics online. Shut those up. Okay, and we can go from that, from ready for start to ready for takeoff.
Ready for takeoff selected.
Okay, and obviously we had that audible voice over there that let us know that we are going to that configuration, so we'll let that do what it's got to do. Now in the aircraft options, we are currently in a T1 with GPS sight off. Now we put the sight on. When that comes live, you'll see that we'll have a pipper. If we go to the outside, you can see that the HUD is actually showing from the outside there. If we go down and choose a payload, so say 4 AIM-9s and an Aiden gun pack. Okay, that'll do, and we'll take this. The steps and everything's all been taken away via the ready for takeoff. So there we go, we've got the gun pack in the ventral area there, and we've got 4 AIM-9s in pretty much a setup that would have been the case for the mid-80s when we had the mixed fighter force, when Tornado F3s would have led a group of around 4 Hawks into the pack using its radar, and then once the enemy was in sight, all the Hawks would branch off, and then dogfighting would resume. But yeah, so we are now in the ready for takeoff phase. So that's it for the tablet. So yeah, excellent, nice little feature, but I will say this. Well, the clue's in the name, flight simulator. This sort of takes the simulation part away from it. I mean, fair enough, if you're new to the sim and you just want to get, or you're just lazy, you just want to get into the plane and fly it, fair enough. But it doesn't make you work for it. I find it more satisfying when I've learnt the manual, learnt to start the aircraft myself, and feel like I've achieved something. But with this, it's like micro transactions, but without paying for it. It's just a cheat. But that's just my view on it. I mean, everybody's got their own opinion and they're entitled to it, but that's just my version of it. So yeah, let's get into the next phase of the review. Just a quick addendum here. I forgot to show you that using the tablet you can actually configure the aircraft to the standard of the Red Arrow's Hawk variation, with the die lines that shoot out into the exhaust plume. Again, that is done with the tablet in the aircraft options section here in config, so you can go from T.Mk.1A to Red Arrows, and that comes as standard with the Garmin GPS system there. So yeah, there is that part of it as well. But you can also add that just as a display tank without having to actually go into the red arrow section. So there you go, there is that as well. Okay, now before we set off, the original Hawk T.Mk.1s, their nose wheel steering was done via differential braking through the back wheels. Because that hasn't been implemented yet in the sim, the nose wheel steering of this is done through rudder movements, as a normal nose wheel steering would normally be implemented. Same case with the Flying Iron Spitfire, where the caster wheel at the back hasn't been simulated, so that's all connected to the rudder. This is the same for the Hawk. I'm not sure if later marks of the Hawk actually converted to proper nose wheel steering. That'll have to be answered by somebody in the comments if they want to. But this, yeah, pretty simple, straightforward. Parking brake is off, so we're going to just push the RPMs up a bit, get ourselves moving. Ground handling is very simple on this. It's not twitchy in any way, doesn't shoot out like a bat out of hell. It's very, very responsive, and it's got a nice tight turning circle, so no worries in that department. So we'll taxi out, and we'll get ourselves prepped for takeoff. I have dialed in the DME for Coningsby into the TACAN, and I've also dialed in the localizer for the end of runway 07. Now you're probably wondering, how do you dial into a TACAN? Well, Just Flight have been really handy and have converted all frequencies into channel numbers for the TACAN, and then it splits into two. So where you'd have usually have a 00 at the end of a frequency, that'd be an X, or a 20 or 30, and anything with a 5 at the end is Y mode. So with 07, well, with Coningsby in general, their DME equipment is 111.100. Converting that from the chart that's given to me in the manual, that converts to 48x, and I've got 48x dialed in here, 48, and it's in the X position. So what you'll notice is that as I climb away from the airfield, this will start to count upwards. As I get towards the airfield, it will start to count down. I don't believe it'll actually point towards, I think it's just distance measuring equipment only. And as for the ILS, I've not actually seen that working as of yet, but we'll give it a go. So everything looks good, no lights are on, everything's in the green. So let's throttle up, let off the brakes, nice slow roll, and watch for the side wind. Takeoff. So I'm gonna climb to around about 5,000 feet, have a little bit of a mess around, see how it handles, and then we'll make our way back. Trim out here. Seems to have got a little bit overcast. I did notice a couple of other hawks on the ground there, so obviously quite a popular one already. So if we just pull up and see if we can give ourselves a nice shallow loop. Spin. I was lucky, managed to recover from that. Okay, we don't want to overspeed it, so we'll pull back on the throttle slightly. Okay, do a roll. And just as responsive as you'd expect. Now a lot of people will be saying, well, we had a T.Mk.1A Goshawk released by India Fox Techo not long ago. Why would we want to buy this one? Well, like I said in the India Fox Techo video that I made, two completely different birds. For one, the cockpit in this is steam gauges, a bit more Stone Age than the T.45, and it's also it's overpowered in comparison. T.45 has got enough power just to do what it needs to do, whereas this has got a little bit extra so that it can carry armament and it has the ability to fight. And to be honest, it's just a completely different experience. Don't get me wrong, India Fox Techo's T.45C is a brilliant mod, and glad to have that. It was worth every single penny, that one. Now the price tag for this is around about £8 dearer than T.45C. Now I've not, having only bought it today, I've not seen anything to warrant that extra £8 as of yet, apart from the knee pad down here, which makes things a little bit easier, I suppose. But when you want to sim, you want to sim. You don't want shortcuts. Like I say before, I can understand why people would want that, so that newcomers can just jump in and fly. But I preferred it when you had a manual and you had to learn the systems. So that's, I suppose, to be expected these days. But other than that, I guess because it's from a more established company who has probably more experience, and you're paying for that experience, and it's coming out in a flight model that's in a pretty advanced state. You're not getting it in a beta state or anything like that. It's pretty much good to go. You haven't got to wait for any updates for future systems to come online. I'm guessing there must be a couple of little things on this, or some improvements that will come out on later updates, but yeah, you're pretty much good to go. I mean, you've got the T.Mk.1A, you've got the red arrows configuration, and the ability to carry weapons if you've bought this not in the flight store, which I'm guessing they may or may not do. And then I think Just Flight like to sell things on their own site, so weapons will be a thing for their modules. But yeah, I mean, it's a very good model, and I mean, the level level of detail in this is superb. I managed to get it a little bit cheaper because I had the previous version on FSX, and I got 25% discount. That brought the price down quite considerably, down to how much I paid for the T45, about £25. Now I was very happy to pay that price. I think some modules for Flight Sim are slightly overpriced, because what you're getting for the price is a firework without the gunpowder. Yeah, it looks good, but at the end of the day you want that gunpowder to give it that extra kick. So sort of releasing this on DCS would be a good decision, but I can't see Just Flight actually giving in and doing such a thing. And £33 is verging on a DCS module price, and you get a lot more for your money. But as I said, I got this for a slightly cheaper price because I had the same aircraft on a previous version of the sim. So I was happy to pay that. I mean, if you're happy to pay £33, then good for you. But you know, it's down to each individual whether they're happy to pay those prices or not, whether it will turn people away onto other things. So yeah, it's a very good addition, and all I can say is go out and get it yourself if you are happy to pay the price for it, or wait for it to go on sale, in which case you will you get yourself a bit of a bargain, I suppose. But enough talk on price. So yeah, I've dialed in the TACAN. As you can see, it's now showing how far away we are, but we don't have a way of guiding us to the airfield. So yeah, it's a matter of trial and error with the DME if you're not used to it, and if you don't know the lay of the land, then obviously navigation is something that you may need to brush up on using something like this. Bring the flaps fully down. Just Flight's Hawk T.Mk.1A, excellent module. Well done, Just Flight. You've carried on exactly how you left it in FSX. Yeah, can't fault it. So if you've got this far, thank you for watching as always, and take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.